Really happy that George Gomez joins us tonight on Coast to Coast Pinball. We're going to talk all things Deadpool Pinball, the latest release by Stern. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll dive into, of course, the game, the theme, the art, everything we can talk about possible on Deadpool. Also going to get into some other general topics about pinball. He's a great guest. Really enjoyed this interview. Episode 245 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. I would like to welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball this evening the Chief Creative Officer of Stern Pinball, Mr. George Gomez. How are you, sir?
Hey, Nate. Good to be on the show again.
Thank you for coming back on. I appreciate it. This is like my favorite days of the year is when there's new pinball to talk about, and we have new pinball to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It's a George Gomez design, which is exciting, and it's Deadpool, which you guys have been teasing for a few days, and now is official and out there. How excited are you to be bringing out a new game based on a very fun, interesting IP like Deadpool?
Yeah, I'm kind of psyched about it because, I love to design, and I don't get to do it that often. And so when I get an opportunity, it's really hard for me to say no, even though it creates havoc in my life because I'm really supposed to be, running product development and designing pinball machines is kind of a full-time job. So it's a lot of work, but it's really fun. Deadpool has been an amazing title to work on because of the amount of freedom involved in creating Deadpool pinball. The Deadpool universe is kind of far-reaching, meaning that Marvel has done so many things with him, and the character lends itself to being put in all kinds of different situations, and he's incredibly versatile. And so it was very much like creating an original theme. And it's one of those licenses in some ways very similar to Monster Bash in that, you can do anything you want almost within the, there are limitations. You have to be true to the brand and all, and you have to work in the universe of the brand, but you can bring a lot of things to it. You can, invent new things for it, which we have, and so it was very much like doing an original theme in the world of Deadpool.
So I think it's pretty interesting. Even on the playfield, you have a text bubble coming from Deadpool saying, "At least it's not another movie-themed pin," and that's funny, and it actually speaks to this whole situation on a few different levels because A, Deadpool's known for breaking down the fourth wall and talking to the reader or the viewer, as it may be. Yeah. And B, you're referencing that, hey, this is based on the comic book and not necessarily the movies of recent years.
Right. The fact that we went in the direction of the comic book gave us freedom in so many areas. It gave us almost complete creative freedom in terms of the things that we will have Deadpool do in the game. And it gave us a tremendous amount of freedom in illustrating the art on the game and in creating the video graphics for the game, which in and of themselves are totally unique and specifically created for Deadpool. So imagine, with Jeremy Packer, Zombie Yeti, doing the art. I mean, every panel was illustrated by him in the world of Deadpool, which, had we gone in the direction of the film, would have been substantially more restrictive. The other issue with the films are working on any film, is that you feel somewhat obligated to address the thematic elements of the film,
the story
right?
that they told, yeah.
Yeah, and so by not going in that direction, we're essentially telling our own story. It occurs in Deadpool's world. It takes, it happens with Deadpool's friends and Deadpool's enemies and Deadpool's alter egos and the craziness inside Deadpool's head, and we're gonna break the fourth wall, and we've had a lot of fun with, he makes fun of the player and he interacts with the player and he his attaboys are a lot of fun to listen to because he's giving you an attaboy as Deadpool would. So so it was a tremendous amount of freedom. Marvel was incredible in the things that they, the directions they allowed us to take, and the things, really the game they allowed us to create.
So
because I think,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think when people drink it all in, there's so much different and new stuff in it that I think people will. I hope people will really like it.
I think that it's really a smart move. And this is me just backing the idea even further, because I think when you look back at the history of pinball, there are some pretty cool games based on themes that were movies and maybe don't hold up. I just played a round on Johnny Mnemonic the other day. Very cool game. Theme doesn't really resonate in 2018 like it might have 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, I mean it's so dated, I mean it's like you think about the amount of memory he carried around in his head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like my phone dwarfs that. Yeah.
Right. That was a big deal back then.
So I think doing this game based on the comic IP, really you can create a timeless sort of everlasting story, like you said. I like to hear that you guys have created a storyline within the game. That's neat. That's cool. Yep.
Had a lot of fun doing it.
So the artwork you mentioned, Jeremy, Zombie Yeti, it's pretty amazing looking. It is full fleshed out. There is art just all over it. I feel like you guys have really at Stern turned that corner finally. I feel like you had turned down the corner a few times and then maybe had to steer back the other way depending on what the game was. But I just feel with the last few games that have come out, the artwork is just stellar. What's the vibe inside the company right now in regards to thinking about art on the games?
Well, so you remember that a lot of this goes back to what we're allowed to do in terms of the license, and so a lot of times, I think people gave me all kinds of hell on the Avengers because the art on the game looked just like the movie poster art, looked just like the promotional art for the film, et cetera, et cetera. Well, those aren't choices that we were allowed to make. And so, meaning that the licensor sometimes has a vision of how they want their property presented. And so when we have more latitude to be who we are, then clearly, you've seen the work, that we can do it. It's what comes with the freedom of certain properties, right? Yep. And so I really think it speaks more to that than any sort of eureka or revelation internally. We are kind of, I think we're firing on all 8 cylinders right now. I have a great mix of talent on my staff. I have some new, fresh blood, some guys that are bringing, new vision to the group, to the studio, and I have some veterans that are kind of keeping things, doing some teaching in terms of, this is what works and this is what doesn't, and I also have, I have enough talent, enough depth in a lot of the areas to sort of begin to address the games the way they need to be addressed. And so, are we still working like madmen? Yeah. Could we use another 15 guys? Yeah. Could we use a little bit more time? Absolutely. But we're getting there. And, anybody who listened to me talk back in 2011, this is what it's taken to come, this is what it's taken me to do this because our business is self-funded and we don't write checks we can't cash. And so we, that you can't cash. And so, we essentially, it takes some amount of time to grow and that growth has enabled everything in the company, right? We have a nicer manufacturing facility that's going to allow us to do better work there in that arena, and we We have my product development studio is substantially larger in terms of, talent, space, tools, etc. And so I think all those things, it had, there was a time when I walked in the door, there were 11 guys in product development. Okay. And I can tell you that we're substantially larger than that now.
Yeah. This game is an interesting title for you because you had a departure of an employee who was, I think, originally signed to the game, and it was a tough situation for the company. So you stepped in and took over the project. Tell me about that transition, and was it were you picking something up that was started? Were you starting fresh? What was the thought process when you had to kind of take up for this one? Right.
So, things happen in the world, in life, the things that you don't anticipate, you don't plan, you don't have any control over. And when that situation happened, that particular designer was assigned to the title, and he had started working on it. And I felt, I think we all did. We all felt strongly that a clean break was the best solution. And to that end, if I'm going to put my name on something, it's going to be my work. So I essentially balled up whatever work he had done at that point, and I threw it away. And I started with a clean sheet of paper, the way I always do. And, if there are references in the game, there are references to my games. There are things that I've done in the past. So we threw everything out, started over. And that's, a very costly, by the way, very, very costly scenario for the company. But the company supported me on it, and I felt like, I'm just not going there. I'm not putting my name on that, and I'm not finishing that, or I'm not taking that the rest of the way, whatever. And so I've seen, it's interesting is that when those photos were leaked,
yep.
I saw people speculating on, somebody talking about the flipper gap and everything. It's, it's a standard George Gomez flipper gap. I don't care what you want to imagine, and you'll see it when you play it. But that's the way it is.
I think that if you really just looked at the layout, you could see it was George. I saw George Gomez when I saw it, at least. The turns that you've got in there and some of the geometry looked like you to me. So that's what I thought.
Sure.
So, well,
sure.
I think that's great.
He's got katanas, right? It wasn't a far reach from the sword on Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. You're going to be the sword guy, George.
So yeah.
Confirm or deny He-Man 2021.
I've heard right. I'll be on that one too.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of positive comments about the way, hey, when are you going to get back to doing a Johnny Mnemonic style playfield, etc. And so coming off of Batman, where I spent a lot of energy and time on the turntable, and I love it every time I see one of those posts that says Batman's got nothing in it, and I said, have you looked underneath the playfield? It's like. So the turntable, for all of its versatility, also really hamstrung me in terms of playfield real estate. I mean, that thing does a lot, right? I mean, it's got shots going through it. It presents different arrays of targets to the player. It locks 3 balls. It does all the stuff, and so it takes up a lot of space. And so, not having I really wanted to go in a direction where I focused more on the shots and less on this giant device that we'd have to, not only invent all kinds of things around, but deal with all sorts of technology, and that chews up some large percentage of the time that you have allotted to develop a game. And I just coming off of that, I wanted to do something different. So this game, this playfield, when people play it, there's a ton of combination shots. It has flow. It has speed. And And so I hope people like it. I have a couple of fresh shots that I've never done before, and I don't know that anyone else has either. Especially on the Premium LE, there's an orbit shot that feeds the right flipper. That's kind of cool. And then all games have Pro Premium LE. All games have that cross shot where what's really the right ramp feed is actually on the the ramp itself is on the left side of the playfield, but the feed ends up. So it gives you crossing ramps in a fresh new way.
Yeah, they kind of loop almost not kind of behind themselves in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I listened back to the interview you and I did almost 2.5 years ago at the Texas Pinball Festival, and we were talking about, what do you expect from your designers when you're looking for something interesting? And one of the things you said then, which I was thinking about today, is you said, I don't need 20 different things on this game, but give me 5 cool things, because that's how you'll tend to find success and make a good game and make something fun. So what are some of those 5 cool things that you think you're bringing to the table with the Deadpool design?
So one of the 5 cool things is what we just got done talking about, just the layout of the playfield. I begin by, with no rules in it, with 0 rules, 0 toys. Is it just fun to flip the board? I mean, is it just fun to make the shots? And if you work off of that platform, everything else can only enhance the game, right? The reality is it's a pinball machine. It's about keeping the ball in play, making the shots, and so I started there. And so it was kind of like, let's just get this thing to feel good, just flipping it, and then let's build on that. So I guess you could say that's one of the things.
Yep.
I think that in making the Batman multi-ball so difficult by making it an outside shot on the orbit, I think that I took multi-ball and sort of pushed it out from the casual player, and yet that's one of the things that a casual player most enjoys in a game.
Definitely.
And so this game, the Bash toy, the little Deadpool character, which is a really simple device, but it's kind of funny, when I had the very first version of the character, which is sort of an amped up bobblehead, if you will, because his arms have springs and he moves and stuff. And the first time I got that thing shooting, everybody started laughing, and I said, okay, I'm some portion of the way there, because everybody thought, God, that's really funny.
It's funny. Yeah.
So that particular thing with the 3 drop targets, you can lock a ball back there, and that's the kind of thing that every casual player is going to get a 2-ball multi-ball out of that device, because of where it's positioned. It's very easy to take down those 3 targets, very easy to shoot up in there and lock the ball behind the targets, and then then we feed you another ball, and it's really kind of, and then there's a hurry up. That's that's essentially going to freeze your value when you hit the targets and free the locked ball, and
Gotcha. Yeah.
and so that is kind of another sort of fun thing. It's an easy access multi ball, which is going to do some more complex things for the Keith Elwins of the world, and as it progresses, but at the same time, to the novice, it's going to be like readily accessible and easy to get to.
Is there any difference with that Bash toy mech on the Pro to the Premium LEs?
Nope, it's identical.
Okay,
it's
cool.
that entire thing is identical. There's, I think we did some. We've got a fun, cool thing that we're doing with the music, which is going to be really cool. All the LE guys are going to get a vinyl LP with their games. That is, the cover art is by Zombie Yeti. It's got 11 original tracks that were written for the game. The tracks are all over the map. No one knew that Deadpool no one equates Deadpool with a music game, but Deadpool is full of original music, and there's going to be lots of cool things that we're going to be doing with the music. The music's all over the map. There's like every genre of music is represented in the tracks. Some of them are vocal, some are instrumental. And the premium guys are getting Deadpool's mixtape, which is, a cassette, which essentially, by the way, the vinyl is on, it's a 12-inch LP with, transparent red vinyl. It looks amazing.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and the premium guys, and I hope everybody gets the joke, it's basically they're going to get a cassette, and it's like Deadpool's mixtape, like the thing that would be laying on the dash of the chimichanga truck, like he made it, and it's all about I'm Deadpool and I'm cool, and this is these songs are all about me, yeah. and then of course all the tracks are going to be available to download to everyone and anyone. You don't have to buy the game to download the tracks; they're going to be on our website. And along with that, we're going to also let you download a little piece of the art that will allow you to cut and fold and create your own like CD jacket, if you will, the CD sleeve, if you want to burn a CD. But clearly, everyone will be listening to the music on modern devices, so they'll be on your phone, etc.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't have a tape player.
No, and honestly, it's like Jerry Thompson had to bring me a boombox in order for me to listen to the tape, and it was a crazy idea I had. I just thought I thought you know what, why not? I mean, and there's down the road there's going to be more stuff that we're going to be doing with the music, but at launch it'll have this, it'll have what I just described, and so I think, Marvel was great about it. That's one of those things, like, remember I was saying it was very much like doing an original theme. We called Marvel and said, hey, we want to do this and this and this with the music. And they were like, yeah, fine, cool. Let us hear what you're doing and send us the lyrics. But other than that, they were like, yeah, it sounds great. And so there's stuff like that. We talk about the 5 cool things. We've got a lot of 80s pinball sounds in the game because we thought they were cool. And remember how Williams games, the sound system was sort of shared between the video games and the pinball machines?
Yep.
We love the sounds of those games, right? The sounds of Firepower, the sounds of Defender, all sort of being similar and the same. And so we have a lot of sounds that sort of celebrate that era of pinball. Of course, we've got we've got Nolan North did the Deadpool voice. He's done a lot of Deadpool, and he was great.
So this is an actor who's done Deadpool in, are you, like comics or something, or excuse me, cartoons?
Video games, okay. A lot of the animated series and stuff. He's great. He was. It made a lot of sense to have him do it because so many people know him as Deadpool. We have a lot of fun, unexpected kinds of characters in this game that people aren't going to just from knowing, even from knowing the Deadpool fiction, you may not know. And we're doing some interesting things with the video. So 100% of the animations in the game were specific for the game, and since we had nothing to work with, I decided we should look like a 90s fighting game, purposely pixelated. We started looking at, X-Men versus Capcom and all that stuff, right, from that era, Street Fighter, and we decided, this is a great fit. And so everything on the screen looks like a 90s fighting game. When Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, when things, we made this rule that things on one side of the screen were pixelated. When things were on the other side of the screen, they were going to be high res. So when he breaks the fourth wall to talk to you and stuff, it's high res Deadpool. But when he's in the game, and you'll see him doing all kinds of funny things, like he's playing his own pinball in the Hell House while he's waiting for an assignment, and he. In the background is a bunch of old Stern product, old Stern pinball machines and old Stern video games and stuff. So we had a lot of fun with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you really did get to dive into this IP and kind of make it your own. It sounds like that's cool.
Yeah, so everything I just told you is sort of to give you, to help you understand what I mean when I say that it was like creating an original theme, because we just got to make all this stuff up. So, yeah.
So you mentioned the screen and all the work that goes into the new style pinball machines. It's kind of we're in the future, George.
Yeah.
We have video screens in the back of all these games, and I was just at a show recently, and I saw a row of some new games from different companies, and I made the comment on my episode the other day that the game that had the DMD just looked like it didn't belong anymore, and I think we all knew that could happen. So now we're in the video era. Tell me about how Stern has kind of ramped up to this, how you've embraced it. I know you've hired a bunch of people. What's that like now as you get to design a game that has actual, moving video in the back box?
Well, so remember that I spent 9 years of my life working on Xbox and PlayStation stuff. Yep. And so it was crystal in my head that when we went in the direction, it's funny because we didn't, it took us a long time to get into the LCD for a variety of things, because we needed to design a hardware set. We didn't want to just jam a PC inside a pinball machine. We wanted an elegant hardware set that was appropriate to what you're doing with a pinball machine. So had the required horsepower, but it was a pinball specific design. It wasn't like a hybrid, like let's just jam a PC and a video card in the thing. So that took us some amount of time, but it wasn't it's not really difficult to hang an LCD inside a back box. It wasn't any of that stuff. It was the thing that was always in the back of my mind was knowing how much work it is to create the content for that screen. That's really the challenge, right? And with that challenge comes the complexity that every license deals with, has limitations that are different. And so in the case of that, if you're going to go make Deadpool based on the comic book, guess what? There are no assets for you to leverage. Yeah. There's nothing for you to use. So what that says is you better get ready to do a lot of work, because you're going to have to animate everything from scratch. You're going to have to create every single pixel in that thing is created for Deadpool from scratch. In the case of Batman, you get the bonus of it's a double-edged sword, right? You get, here's, three seasons of twice-a-week shows that you can leverage into creating the content for your pinball machine. The other side of that coin is the fact that it's 3 seasons, and when you want to do the property justice, man, it's going to take you a long time to integrate all that stuff, right? So the good news is you got lots to work with. The bad news is get ready to do a lot of work, because it's a lot of work. You got a lot to work with, yeah. You got a lot to work with, right? So, and then you have challenges in other areas. Some of the film properties, the Screen Actors Guild and the restrictions that the actors put on how you use them can sometimes completely lock you out of a property in terms of using that content. So those are some of the challenges we faced, like for example in Guardians of the Galaxy, and Iron Maiden was similar to Deadpool in that we had to make all that stuff. We had there were some sort of storyboard type directions that were natural, that came that sort of as a function of the title, but the actual content had to be generated from scratch. So I've got a very talented guy, Chuck Ernst, who runs that group and motion graphics group, and he's got a bunch of talent, no surprise. It's a lot of guys, out of the video game business. And Chuck and I worked together at Midway Games for many years, and I knew Chuck, and so when we went down this direction, I mean, he's been here for years, but when we went down this path, the very first thing I did was go hire Chuck, because I knew that, okay, I know what it takes to do this. Not only did I start my career in video games, but I also later in my career, after my Williams days, I spent 9 years at Midway, making stuff over there, and I knew how much work that was.
Do you feel that you're constantly going to see an evolution or a growth with the motion graphics, or do you think you're kind of already up and running, and what we're seeing now is really, kind of what it'll be?
So I think that the one thing I want you to think about this. Look at all the games that we've done with the LCD, and notice that in every one of those, our stuff looks different, right?
Yeah.
So, we're going to continue to push the envelope in terms of the fact that we think that the look of a game is going to be appropriate to the game. But as far as the LCD, I've said this a million times, and I think I've been quoted a lot about saying it. But it's a pinball machine. It's the game is under the glass. It's not on the LCD. The LCD is, yes, it's something we have to have because we live in today in 2018. But the reality is that it's not about the LCD screen. It's about the stuff underneath the glass on the ball and the flippers.
Definitely.
So.
You mentioned Iron Maiden. I think Iron Maiden's been a kind of a overwhelming success from where I'm sitting. And
from where we're sitting.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, having Keith come in with sort of a design in hand that, granted, needed some work and some tweaking and a theme change, and that process from day one to you might have made your best game ever?
Well, clearly he's a talent, right? He's a talent because he has a comprehensive knowledge of pinball, as arguably one of the best, if not the best, pinball player, on the face of the earth today,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so that comprehensive knowledge, but you know what? I mean, I've seen. It wasn't the comprehensive knowledge that caught my eye. It was the fact that he built that Archer game in his garage, and that it was as polished as it was, considering what he had to work with and what he knew of actually making a pinball machine. Because playing a pinball machine and making a pinball machine are two completely different skill sets.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds,
I believe it.
And so a lot of people that can play pinball can't make pinball, and I clearly don't play anywhere near the level of half the guys in my studio.
Yeah.
So, but I think that I know how to make a pinball machine. So it was that it was when I saw that, and it was really sort of a combination of things, because I think he expressed to a lot of people that he was interested in designing. And so it started coming at me from lots of different places, right? Lyman said to me, this is the guy, you really need to get this guy. And a lot of people started talking to me about him. And I had seen, I'd seen the videos he posted online and stuff. And so it seemed like and honestly, I mean, if you look, a lot of my staff, for a long time, I've wanted to bring in some younger guys that are going to have a different vision, that are going to be us someday, that maybe can take the game to the next level. And so I clearly have some veterans, but I had nothing but veterans. And so I thought, we need to mix it up. We need to bring in some new guys, and I've been doing that. There's some guys you haven't heard from yet, and there's some guys that you'll hear from in Deadpool for the first time, and so it's, and those guys will, I'm backfilling every area of the studio. So there's new guys in the motion graphics group. There's new guys on the code side, there's new guys everywhere. So I think the Iron Maiden experience, it was interesting that Whitewood came in, and he thought that it was perfect. It was like, no, don't change a thing. This is it.
Yeah.
And I said, it's not quite there, but it was a good portion of the way there. And so the very first thing we did was just sort of try to, okay, let's take all the Williams parts off, and let's try to use the things that we have, and let's also make it manufacturable. And we started there. And he was very open-minded to it. I think I helped him with a couple of shots, and we talked through some things. And when we were all done, he said to me one day, he goes, I didn't believe you about this. I didn't believe you about that left ramp shot, but totally you made it better.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So it was kind of, and it's sort of. I'm very happy that those guys have had the success they had. It was an all fresh team. There was a lot of second guessing about the choice to put that team together here, but I felt strongly that it was the way to go. Way back, once upon a time, the team that I made my first pinball machine with was an all fresh team, and Tom Copera and Tom Eubank and myself.
Was that Corvette?
Yeah. And I knew that it could work with the right motivation and the right support from the studio. I knew it could work, and it looks like it did. So I'm very happy for them. They worked their asses off. They're all very talented, and I think I expect like amazing things from those guys. I mean, they're off. They have an energy that has spilled over into a lot of the different products that are happening here, and I think that's. Remember when I said to you, I think the studio's firing on all eight, or very close to it. I mean, I think there's a buzz here, and it's good. It's a really positive buzz because of the quality of the games. We're also trying to, we're taking an approach that contrary to the, at Williams, the teams are very much in competition, and we're sort of taking the approach that everybody needs to help everybody, because the real success is the success of the company. It's not the success of this team versus that team,
Absolutely. Programming on Deadpool, am I correct that it's Tonio Kleiss' first game of programming?
Yep, Tonio Kleiss' first game in that seat for sure. He's getting help from guys like Tim Sexton. He's getting help from guys like a lot of the guys, a lot of the guys in the studio that have been on other products, and they're backing him up. But it's his first go in that seat, and he's done a great. I think he's done a great job with it. He's been, he's an interesting guy. He's been a lot of interesting places. He worked at Valve, the video game company, for some time, and he came to us with a passion for pinball, and he left what was a pretty nice gig over at Valve to come and make pinball machines, and so you gotta. That's always a good thing when you have that level of passion.
How involved with the rule set and the coding are you finding yourself with Deadpool?
No more than I'm not. I don't consider myself by any stretch any kind of a rules guru. I've always relied a lot on the guys that I work with. To sort of really take that to the end. I work in very broad strokes. I lay out like very grand general progressions through the game, and those guys backfill like a lot of the details of how this rule works with that rule, that kind of thing.
Yep.
That's always, and for me, the way I run my teams is that I expect I want everyone to make a creative contribution. I expect a creative contribution from every guy working on my products. I expect a creative contribution from a guy that is designing my cables. I mean, I want everybody to be open about, contributing to the game. And the way to do that is to give people some room to run. And then, I play the game every day, right? So I say things like, hey, I don't understand this. You guys got to, we got to make this more. We got to communicate this better. Or I'll say to them, I don't like the fact that I can't do that. You're not letting me do that again, or whatever. So that's my single biggest interaction with the rules is, I lay out a grand arc about where things are going, and then those guys backfill all the details and figure out. Tim Sexton's made a great contribution as a player to how things need to work. Keith Ellens looked at it, and I asked him. I said, send me a list. Send me your list. And we all sit in the room. We all talk about the stuff, and we all talk about, let's do this, let's do that. And really, that's how the games evolve. When the games come up in the studio and the guys around here are running around playing them. Guys are telling you, I hate that, or I like that, or I love that, or do more of this, or, that shot is so cool, you got to give me an extra reward for it. All that sort of thing.
Nice. What are the main differences? I haven't had access to see a look at the premium and the LE quite yet, so I'm looking at a pro game here. What are the main differences that people are going to kind of talk about when they look at the decision there? Do I want premium? Do I want pro? What's going to be the thing that might drag somebody to the pro game, or to the premium or the LE game?
Right. So the premium. Just to reinforce the concept, the premium and the LE playfields are identical. Yep. So have whatever features are on a premium are also on an LE in terms of the gameplay.
Yep.
And so one of the really cool things is there's the left orbit comes around, and there's an up down ramp in the shooter groove, in the shooter lane, and that up down ramp allows you to repeat that shot because it feeds the right flipper. And so it's a really cool shot because you come all the way around and then go up and then drop down the end of the katana to the right flipper. We have the Dazzler character has a mode which is essentially it's a disco themed mode, and we play disco music. We've got those games have an actual disco ball that's motorized, and it projects a disco ball effect around the playfield, which is kind of fun.
That's cool.
We match it to the old school disco music, and there's a rule that allows you to get a multi-ball out of that, and there's and it's really kind of a satisfying shot to repeat. It's also a really cool shot to combo because you can come off that shot and then hit the left ramp and then go to the right ramp, and there's just a lot of combinations in the game. So the disco ball with the disco ball effect and the up down ramp are premium LE features. There are 2 electric control gates on the premium LE so that you can orbit in both directions. There are molded characters in the premium LE that don't exist in the Pro.
Yep.
But all of the flat-arted characters in the Pro, by the way, are going to ship in the cash box of the premium and the LE, and the reason is that I felt a little uneasy about mixing the flat-arted characters with the molded characters, and so I thought, I thought some guys may not have any problem with that and may want them, so I'm giving them to them, and they're going to come with all the mounting hardware and everything. So if you choose to put them on your game, go ahead and put them on your game. And so I couldn't. The problem with molding more characters is I just ran out of tooling money. I just had no more tooling money to create, and it's really expensive every time we create those molded characters, it's not the creation process is some amount of time. That's not really the expensive part. The expensive part is tooling them and decorating them. And so, but they look, they look great, and they work really well. There's a lot of fun stuff that I can't talk about yet because the accessory guys haven't released them yet. But there's some fun stuff in the accessory program for this game that I think a lot of people are going to want. And the single biggest the biggest feature, the biggest difference in the features is between the playfields is that up down ramp, that controlled up down ramp. And the fact that the premium LE have 11 drop targets. So the drop targets are interesting because they change the dynamic at the bottom of the playfield. So there's a Deadpool spell out. 4 targets on the left, drop targets on the left that spell dead. 4 targets on the right that spell pool. Those are stand-up targets in the Pro, and they speed up the bottom of the Pro quite a bit, and they also create more side grains on the Pro than on the Premium LE. The Premium LE, because the drop targets absorb more energy, there's a lot less sort of wild, ball motion at the bottom.
So sort of similar to like AC/DC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's consistent with on a pro game. Most of the pro games are designed. Well, the pro games are mostly operated, and so because they're in street environments, and that environment is much more sensitive to ball times. It's a natural that those stand-up targets are a better fit for the pros.
Yep.
The other thing is, drop targets are one of the most expensive mechanisms that we make is a drop target. And so it's like when people don't realize how much money a bank of drop targets costs, but they're not cheap. And so the premium the premium and LE have 11 drop targets. And they have the spinning disco ball with the disco ball effect. And they have the electric up down controlled ramp on the right side.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there.
Yep.
Good. Really looking forward to it. Can't wait to play these. I wanted to, before we wrap things up, I wanted to kind of touch on some just other things happening in pinball in general.
Sure.
One of your classic games, Monster Bash, is going back into production soon, we hear from Chicago Gaming. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know Stern was involved with them for one of the games, and now they're doing their own thing. What's that like for you, still being in pinball with a competitor, seeing your game being built again?
Yeah, well, it's a little strange, to tell you the truth. Those games, I haven't seen the game, and I haven't flipped the game. I did flip the medievals, and to me, the medievals felt a little different than the originals. I still have a Monster Bash. I have my original Monster Bash. It's never been anywhere except my house since I made the game. And it is one of my favorite games of all time. And it certainly, when people come over to my house, it's the game everybody wants to play. And so, little kids like to play my Revenge from Mars, but almost everyone else gravitates towards that Monster Bash.
Yeah.
I don't know what their game's going to be like. It is a strange feeling to kind of to see this thing that somebody else has kind of tweaked being made. I don't know what it's like. I haven't flipped it yet.
Yeah.
And it's it is definitely a strange, sort of surreal thing.
Well, I thought it was interesting, like last year, while they were shipping, some amount of games, and this was before news was that Brian Eddy was coming to work for Stern, I made the joke to somebody, I said, Brian Eddy's selling a lot of games here in 2017. It was kind of strange.
Right.
with a couple of his games being raid. So it is odd times. Back at that Texas Pinball Festival interview from a couple years ago, I asked you at the time what you thought of the up and coming, the boutique companies, the garage companies, everybody coming up. And at that time, I think you said to me how concerned you were about money being just stripped away, not only to other games, but possibly to not to games, just taken away, and then companies disappear and money goes away. And I think that's still a concern. And
I think it's still a concern because so many people don't understand what it really takes to make a pinball machine, and so many people are still willing to gamble on that those people actually know what they're doing. Yeah. And so it's hard. I don't, it's like my issue is not with the fact that these people, that people want to go out and build a pinball company. It's that they really don't know what it takes to make pinball machines. They think they do. They all think they do. And to date, they all have thought they did, and so, and many of them have failed, right? And so my concern is that is for the people that are going to be out the money, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's touch and go with a lot of these companies right now, right? And inevitably there's there's the lawsuits and the this and the that, and so that's really it hurts people.
It affects everybody because it's one thing in the grand scheme of things if Johnny from Milwaukee buys a game from Jersey Jack Pinball. Okay, fine. But I think it's an even worse thing when he buys a game from XYZ Pinball, who goes out of business before shipping a game, and that money just disappears because Johnny from Milwaukee doesn't get a game. He has ill will towards pinball, and that's just bad for everybody.
That money when pinball machines, when somebody pays for a pinball machine and they don't get the pinball machine, that money evaporates.
It's gone.
It's not coming back. It's not coming back because that company who didn't know what they were doing spent the money. And there isn't, you're not getting it back. You're not. There's in most of those situations, those people haven't had the financial support to sustain the situation. So even if you go after them, there's nothing to take from them to get your money back.
Yeah. We were chatting a little bit before we went on the air here, and I brought up to you this, and you said we should go ahead and just discuss it. Recently, with Spooky Pinball, talking about a situation with the IP, Godzilla, they kind of have come out now publicly and said they felt slighted on some level, and they felt that they somehow they should, I think, in their minds, have the shot at that game, whereas Stern has, this is all according to what I've heard, has acquired that IP. And, Charlie's a friend of mine. I know you're close with Charlie. You talk to Charlie. And I know he loves Godzilla, but I know Stern's talked about Godzilla at times. And Stern's in business to make pinball about popular themes and themes that'll work for them. What are your thoughts on just acquiring, IP like that and themes and licenses when, I don't know. I hate to just say it, but when it's business versus, people's desires sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we, okay. So, I mean, the deal is that we're doing our thing. They're doing their thing, we're doing our thing. And meaning that we talk about what pinball machines do we want to build, and guys raise their hands for them, and that's what we try to go get. I mean, it's not like, it's like we didn't get the idea to do Godzilla because they were going to do Godzilla. We've been talking about the property for a long time. Honestly, to tell you the truth is, my executive producer, Mark Wayna, right? Yep. My right-hand guy runs my studio, right? And Mark Wayna was an apprentice designer at Williams Electronics when we were all there. When, Steve Ritchie, myself, all the guys that came from Williams when we were there. And Mark Wayna's first game pitch as an apprentice designer, he was helping Dennis Dennis Nordman and Greg Furst with one of, it might have been one of the Elvira games, like the last Elvira game.
Yeah.
But while he was doing that, he pitched a Godzilla concept. And, I mean, he built a Godzilla playfield. It had a really cool Godzilla topper. It had all this stuff in it. That's really the first Godzilla pinball I ever saw. And so, you know, and Mark's a fan. I'm a fan. There's a lot of guys around here that are fans. Keith Elwin's a fan. There's a bunch of guys. So it's not, I mean, it's, I understand Charlie's concern. You know, he really wanted to do that, but you know, our thing is not about, it's not about hurting Charlie or hurting Spooky or anything like that. We have a lot of respect for those guys. We love those guys. You know, we think they're great people. You know, unlike a lot of the other people that are in this business, we don't, you know, they've never said a bad thing about us. We don't have any issues with them.
No, and they've done it right. They have, I think, earned a lot of respect as far as, you know, operating a business. Yeah,
and we like, you know, I mean, I consider him a friend. I don't, you know, it's like it wasn't any kind of intentional slight or whatever on Spooky. I mean, I think it's simply a matter of, we've been talking about this property for a long time. Well, we don't even know, you know, we don't know when we're going to do it. We really, you know, it's more. We needed to get it down. We wanted to do old school Godzilla. We had a lot of ideas about old school Godzilla. We weren't interested in the movies, etc. The more, you know, the recent films, and you know, that's.
Well, I think it's interesting too, and Charlie doesn't know this, but you know, when I was almost coming to work with you guys at Stern, I had dinner with Gary. We shared a steak, in fact. You know, Gary said, "This steak's too big. You want to share it?" I said, "Yeah, let's share the steak." Which is
you
awesome.
Must have been at Gibson's.
We went to Gibson's. We shared a steak. And that dinner, as a pinball dinner often does, devolved into what pinball themes should we build. And it was fascinating, and it was amazing. And, you know, in that night, I remember we talked about Iron Maiden, and he shook his head like he didn't understand that one. And here we are, and it worked, thankfully. Yep. Not my idea exactly, but I thought at the time it was a great idea. Sure. And we talked about Godzilla that night. And I said to Gary Stern 2 years ago, but you got to do old school Godzilla if you're going to do Godzilla, not that stuff you did at Sega.
Yeah.
And he laughed, you know, so...
Yeah.
I knew that story, so I don't know. I just heard the thing with Charlie recently, and I know you said you hadn't heard it yet, but I heard it, and I felt kind of bad for everyone involved.
I haven't listened to the podcast, so I don't. I mean, it's funny that you said to me right before we went on. You know, there's he talked about it on the podcast, and I said, you know, I didn't know that he had talked about it on the podcast. Him and I did talk. You know, he called me when you know, the licensing company told them that they hadn't gotten the license, and I said, "Look, Charlie, it's just business. It wasn't personal. We've been wanting the license for a long time. We went after it. We got it. You know, it's like that. I mean."
Monsters. You know, monsters always work. That was what I told Gary that night, because we were talking about Iron Maiden, and I said monsters. It's about monsters.
There's so much cool stuff you can do with that. You know, by the way, I personally was with Gary. I wasn't sure if Iron Maiden was going to be too edgy. You know, I kept thinking, I don't know if Mom's going to let that in the house. You know, so seriously, I wasn't sure about Iron Maiden. I can tell you that I don't think anyone's going to have an issue if we make a kick-ass Godzilla game, you know, based on the original stuff. You know? Yeah.
Well, very good, man. I appreciate your candor and your willingness to come on and chat with us. I wish you guys only the best of fortunes, and I think Deadpool looks amazing. I'm excited to see the rest of the launch package coming out. Can't wait to play it, and I hope we can get together and do this again sometime soon.
Anytime, Nate. It's always good talking to you. I think that I hope everybody likes Deadpool. I put my heart and soul into it. I think that's all I can tell you. I can't promise you that you're going to like it. I can promise you that I worked my ass off and made it as cool as I can make it.
Absolutely. Well, I think everyone's going to be glad to have a George Gomez design out there. So thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
tell you, that is good stuff. That is George Gomez from Stern Pinball on Coast to Coast Pinball talking about the newest game coming out, Deadpool. Really excited to see that out in the wild. Can't wait to flip it. That's episode 245, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you again soon. Until then, be nice to each other, play some more pinball, take care of yourselves.